So the prospect theory is a theory of decision making that attempts to explain how people's decisions are influenced by their attitudes towards risk, uncertainty, loss, and gain. In general, it asserts that people are influenced by a systematic inability to evaluate probabilities correctly, and in most cases are motivated more strongly by the fear of loss than the prospect of making an equivalent gain. That's the definition that the American Psychological Association gives, which they know their stuff, so you can trust them, hopefully. But the prospect theory revolves around this central idea that people hate losing more than they like winning, when normally that wouldn't be the case. I mean, you expect people to maximize value, and let's say you see a person from across the room, you think they are the most beautiful, handsome, whatever way you swing, person you've ever seen in your life, and you're like, whoa. Well, from a standpoint of avoiding this theory, you would, to maximize your value, you'd be like, well, I have nothing to lose, so because I'm gonna only see this person this one time, and they are stunning, they're absolutely beautiful, and the normal thought process would be good to go and ask them out. But most people, because we as humans don't appreciate losing too much and would rather sit and do nothing, we would not take that risk. You got to understand that there is no potential downside other than the fact of a potential rejection. There's no loss in your idea except for rejection. Going into more of why this occurs, we discussed loss aversion, and I mean this is also why when you ask a question, people immediately want the answer. I mean, there's an innate like sense of loss in not getting that answer because you want the knowledge that comes with that answer. So if I asked LeBron James, what's your favorite color? And he whispers in my ear, you immediately want to know, oh, shoot, what'd he say? Because you feel like you're missing out. I mean, if you like LeBron James, I guess that's an objective. If I ask how many monkeys would it take to destroy the sun? That's a better one. You would immediately want the answer to that because you're like, oh, that's a weird question. I feel like if I knew that, I'd be a smarter person. But to break it down even more specifically, when facing gains, people are risk averse, whereas when facing losses, people seek risk. This obviously, that's really weird when I say it like that, but I mean, take the example of this. This will help. If you are offered $500 or a 50% chance to win $1,000, I'll give you 3 seconds to answer that. Most people would choose the $500 because it's a guaranteed win. Like you don't have if you take the 50% of $1,000, there's like a 50% chance that you walk away with nothing. That feels like a loss. But take scenario two, whereas if you have a guaranteed loss of a $500 or a 50% chance to lose $1,000 and a 50% chance to lose nothing. So that's basically like saying, would you rather immediately lose $500 or take the gamble of possibly losing $1,000? Which most people would choose the gamble because there's a chance that you wouldn't lose. So we as people are always seeking this ideal scenario of how can I not lose? And that's a very human flaw in a lot of ways. I mean, it's something people will always lose in life. So I think it's worth noting that you are, as a person, should get over that, Which brings me to how you can use this to better yourself. What can you take away from this theory? And personally, I see this as an opportunity to say, you need to be willing to lose. You need to be vulnerable. You need to be allowing yourself to go out there and face, whether it's rejection, whether it's loss. You need to be able to suffer those things. You need to live, basically. I mean, there's nothing in life without loss because, I mean, you see success everywhere, in social media, in movies, in everywhere you go. You're surrounded by this picture perfect-esque state of success because people often only show the good times. They highlight these anticipatory moments that finally showcase what they've always been working for, what they've sunk so many years of their lives in. And you don't really understand, it doesn't really compute to you that they've had to suffer for that. People have to be down in the dirts in the coal mines or whatever, working and being there, like being vulnerable is the ultimate idea of what I think is the best human state to call it, because in order to be whole as a human and to be social in a sense, you need to be vulnerable. And that is so increasingly harder and getting harder and harder in our society, because you see all these people who are just, you see only the wins, you see only the successes that they've made, and it makes you feel inferior, when in reality, no, people lose all the time. Even those people that you see succeeding out there, people out there, they're all, you see all their wins, and you see a good example is, I don't know, you can probably just pick anybody you follow in any form of social media, because they normally only post the good times, the highlights, the wins in their lives, the gains, when they don't really, you don't really catch the eye of the losses. You'd have to, in order to find the losses, you'd have to, I don't know, dig deeper into their lives. You'd like, everybody glorifies the wins and downplays the losses, and you have to be willing to lose in life in order to get those gains. So, I mean, I feel like that's about it. Honestly, I think you do need to be a better person, but in order to be that better person, in order to ultimately get what you want, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to lose, and you have to be risk averse. You can't just always want to win, because that's never gonna happen to anybody in the history of the world. Trust me. But yeah, go out there and go try. But yeah, that's about it. See ya.